So a little informational session for any of the interested chemistry majors or biochemistry majors. So I'm John, I'm Dr. French. Kelsey's also introduced herself as well. I've got one more person who wants to join here. So there's my email. If you have any questions after this event, or if you want me to share any information I talked about, certainly just send me an email. I can share with you some of the information that we covered, or some of the classes, class schedules, things like that, major requirements. Kelsey as well. If I don't know the answer, Kelsey probably does know the answer. So she's an instrumental part of our main office and really helping get students schedules straight, help them register for research, maybe if you have a conflict in your schedule, like switching a recitation section or something like that. So Kelsey's also here tonight. She's also a great asset as you're trying to navigate, your first semester on campus. And then we're lucky enough to have two undergraduates as well. So Colin, who I'll let him introduce himself in a minute, and then Morgan as well. They're both first-year students. And if you weren't here when we were going over the brief intro, right, Colin was in your place last semester or last spring when we were on Zoom, doing this event for the first time. So I'll let Colin and Morgan kind of introduce themselves a little bit, and then I'll get into kind of what we wanted to talk about tonight.
I'm Colin. I'm a freshman here at Syracuse, majoring in chemistry, Bachelor of Science chemistry. And yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you guys, and thanks for coming out.
Hi, I'm Morgan. I'm also a first year here. I'm majoring in medicinal chemistry, so that's one of our concentrations here. And yeah, thanks so much for coming. I know it's like weird still being on Zoom, but it's awesome that I'm so glad you guys came.
Yeah, it's a little strange to still be on Zoom, but I think it's a great opportunity to kind of learn a little bit about the department. If you couldn't make the accepted students days that we've been having, it's a busy time of year. So I think it's still good to kind of make some connections on campus and learn a little bit about what you might be looking at next year. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit about what we have in the fall, some of the resources we have available, and then a little bit about what some of our current majors have done or doing. So to kind of answer some of your questions of people that are interested in going to med school or different career goals with their chemistry degree. I'll talk about some of the research opportunities we have, and then some social organizations that we have as part of the chemistry department as well. And at any time you have any questions or anything, just feel free to jump in chat and just let me know if you have a question. If you have a question for me, or both Colin and Morgan are actually in a research lab. So if, for example, when I get to research and you want to know a little bit more about that, Colin and Morgan as first year students could certainly answer that question of what it's like to get into a research lab, what their experience has been like. So don't hesitate to ask a question at any point in time. This is what, we're here to do, that, to answer your questions tonight. So this photo was taken pre-COVID. This is probably the last time we were together, fall of 2019. So the chemistry department, we have about 80 majors. We have probably about 35 to 40 grad students as well as part of that major, as part of the department. Let's see if we can see Kelsey. Where's Kelsey here? I should have found you before.
I wasn't there at that time.
All right, this was before Kelsey. Seems like you were with us forever, but no, this is a good chunk of the department. So a lot of the professors, a lot of the graduate students that we have. So we're a good size department. Like I said, we've got about 80 undergraduate majors between the different, between medicinal chemistry, BS in chemistry, and then the BA in chemistry as well. So the degrees that we offer, a BA in chemistry, and then we have two different tracks within that. We have like a chemistry, track, which is a little bit more in the chemistry classes. And then we have a biology track within that BA. And that basically means you can pick a few more biology classes as your elective. So it's a little bit less on the chemistry side and allows you to pick and choose a little bit more of the biology classes that you might be interested in. Next up, we have the BS in chemistry. And so that's what Colin is majoring in, for example. That is accredited by the American Chemical Society. The big distinction between the BA and the BS is research. So as part of the BS degree, you have to do Chem 450, which is a research experience, up to 3 credits that you have to take. Some students take more than that. The BA is also a little bit more flexible in the classes you can take. Your list of electives are a little bit longer, so there's a little bit more flexibility in kind of the classes that you might be interested in with the BA. The BS in medicinal chemistry is a good major if you're pre-med, because you're going to get all of your pre-med prerequisites out of the way, your general chemistry, organic, biochemistry. And again, it's also kind of preparing you if you wanted to work in industry or pharmacy, because again, that medicinal chemistry, you're getting a little bit of both of the chemistry background, but also some biology as well. And then if that's not enough biology for you, we are, with biology, we do share the biochemistry BS degree, where again, you're going to get a good overlap of, I'm interested in chemistry, I'm also interested in biology, or I'm interested in how you can design a drug and then how a drug binds a specific receptor at the cellular level and the downstream implications of that. So kind of at the interface of chemistry and biology, really. We also offer a minor as well within the chemistry department, often combined with some other majors. You do have to take several chemistry classes if you're pre-med, so sometimes students will pick up a minor. It's not uncommon. So a few of you mentioned maybe the neuroscience ILM or the forensic science ILM. It's not uncommon for our students to be a part of another major. So often students will double major, or they will be part of the neuroscience ILM or forensic science ILM. So the ILM is an integrated learning major, basically meaning it's not its own standalone major. Morgan, are you in the forensic science ILM or no?
I am not, but I
Okay.
know many people who are.
Yeah, so a lot of our students are in the forensic science ILM. If you're interested in forensics, I think chemistry is a great major to pair with it, because really in chemistry, you are going to get the hands-on experience with the instruments that you would be using as a forensic scientist. So you're really going to get the foundational knowledge and the principles of how those instruments work. And then that's really going to help you as a forensic scientist in using those instruments in a day-to-day basis. So I think chemistry pairs really well with the forensic science ILM. And then also in this we have this wonderful resource that Kelsey put together of kind of all the information that you might need. So different forms, so major declaration or petition or withdrawal form. We also have these wonderful check sheets that have been put together for the chemistry department. The research, if you want to sign up for Chem 450, that form as well. And so under this check sheets, and if you want this link, right, I can share this link with you and we can take a look at these check sheets. Very helpful in helping you organize your courses, right, during the year. So for example, one of the check sheets that we have is that BA in biological side of chemistry. And it really just helps you lay out your classes. So we're just looking at general chemistry is where most students will start. General chemistry 1, Chem 106, Chem 116. That's going to be your fall and your spring of your first year on campus. If you're bringing in an AP credit, you might jump in. If you have a 5 on the AP exam, for example, you might jump into organic chemistry, which would be Chem 275 in the fall and then 325 in the spring. And so these check sheets just really help you outline and plan for the next 4 years of, okay, here are the classes I have to take. And then what year, what semester they're available and when I can take those, and literally just check those off from your list. So we have a check sheet for every single major that we offer, the BA in chemistry, right? The BA in the biological track, the BS in biochemistry, and then the BS in chemistry, and then the medicinal chemistry as well. So if anyone wants this link, I can certainly share that with you, and you can take a look at this form for each of the majors and kind of get an idea of what classes you'd need to be taking and when. But for most of you, you're going to start off in general chemistry, Chem 106 in the fall. So any questions on any of that up to this point? Anyone want to look at a different check sheet while we're here? I can certainly switch over to that screen. We could look at a different check sheet. All right, we'll jump ahead. So if you are in that taking Chem 106, right? Got to plug myself here. Yeah, there's my little headshot from whenever we did these. So Chem 106 in the fall. So I'll be teaching 3 of the sections in the fall. I'll have 2 sections that are around 230, 250 students, and then 1 section that's around 100 students. And then Olga will be teaching the other section in the fall. And then Gary is our lab coordinator along with Dr. Kerwood. So they run Chem 107, which is the corresponding lab that goes along with the class Chem 106. So you have to take both Chem 106, the lecture, and then Chem 107, the lab. They might sound like big classes. A lot of students are nervous about chemistry, but we have a lot of resources available. So we have associated with this class, you have once a week, a 1-hour recitation that's taught by a grad student. I've designed problem sets for all of those recitation sections. So you've kind of got guided group work on some problem solving during those problem sets for the week. We also have office hours. I have office hours. The TAs have office hours. We have class tutoring available as well. And then I also make practice exams, and I make review sessions for those exams as well. And Colin can attest to this. This started during COVID. I started holding online late night office hours on Zoom, and I still do that. So every Sunday night, and I'll probably continue to do that because for some reason, students seem to be really active doing their homework at like 9 o'clock on a Sunday night. So I hold office hours 8:30 to 9:30 Sunday night as well on Zoom. That's been great. It's gotten a lot of engagement from students, and it seems to work really well because that seems to be a time when students are available and interested in working. So I do that, offer those resources. So yes, they're bigger classes, but we're there to help. I'm here to help. The grad students are there to help as well. And then if you took AP Chem or Honors Chem in high school, really enjoyed Chem, you were a rock star in chemistry, maybe Chem 109 is a class for you. So Chem 109 is honors chemistry, and I should have edited this. We won't offer Chem 129, which is the lab. That's not going to be offered in the fall, but Chem 109, which is honors chemistry, and that's taught with Professor Doyle, could be a class for you to take. That class is about 28 to 32 students, so it's a smaller class, and it's honors chemistry. So it moves at a little bit different pace than my class. But Dr. Doyle is a great professor. He's a lot of fun, both Colin and Morgan to attest to his Irish accent. He's quite the character, so he makes for quite an engaging and interesting class time for sure. So that's something to think about too if you're very comfortable in chemistry. Maybe you didn't get a 5 on AP, maybe you got a 4. Maybe try out for the honors Chem 109 with Professor Doyle. Did I miss anything about honors Chem that you want to add in, Colin or Morgan? Or
I will say, if you are a chemistry major, I would highly recommend taking it. It's really nice because it lets you meet other chemistry majors from like day one. And it's nice to just know people,
So if you, well, I forgot to edit one thing here. If you got a 5 on the AP exam and you want to jump into organic, I wouldn't recommend that. You're certainly able to do that though with the 5. So organic's going to be taught by 2 professors. This is kind of a joke from last year. So this first picture is Dr. Chisholm when the internet was invented. And that was the picture on our website up until last year. Let's see. That's what Dr. Chisholm looks like now. After 20 years of being on the website, we finally updated it. So he is teaching one of the sections in the fall. He's teaching the 9:30 to 10:25 section of organic chemistry in the fall. And then Dr. Sponsler is teaching the other section of organic chemistry in the fall. Dr. Sponsler also oversees, he's part of the forensic science department as well. So you might be familiar with Dr. Sponsler from the forensic science department. And then the labs are coordinated by Dr. Luke. And I should have one more picture. Yeah, Anne is also the lab coordinator for organic chemistry. So this will be who you're working with if you're skipping Chem 106 and jumping right into organic in the fall. Dr. Chisholm or Dr. Sponsler for the lecture, and then Dr. Luke for the lab, assisted by Ian, who coordinates a lot of the sections of organic lab. So with that out of the way, kind of, right, what can we do with a chemistry major? So some of you are already set on what you want to do, but it doesn't hurt to kind of highlight what some of our current or former majors have done. So for example, right, like Morgan said, she kind of wants to go into grad school. So a lot of majors do that. They go right into grad school. And so some of our recent majors have gone to Harvard, have gone to MIT, Pitt. We've got a current senior who's headed to University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, so a top 5 chemistry program nationally, which is very impressive. University of Wisconsin-Madison, Notre Dame. We don't really want to talk about North Carolina. That's kind of a sore subject at Syracuse right now, but Yale, Berkeley, right? A lot of great schools that our undergrads go on to. And that's the really, like, as a professor, that's the great thing about teaching at SU is that I get to work with some really smart students every day. Hands down, definitely some students that are smarter than myself. So it really is rewarding in that sense of working with a lot of really motivated students, really intelligent students that go on to accomplish some great things. A lot of our majors also go on to medical school, dental school, and law school. I think I was talking to Colin the other day, and he mentioned maybe being interested in patent law. And yeah, that's certainly an avenue that someone with a background in chemistry can do. So we've had students go on to Tufts School of Medicine, U of R, School of Medicine, Duke, is Penn on here as well. Barry University, Temple. So medical school, dental school certainly happens. We've had majors also go to pharmacy school. I should add that as well. We've had a few current majors or recent majors go into pharmacy. So the chemistry degree certainly prepares you for that, right? You're not going to hear this over in biology, but in chemistry, the acceptance rate for chemistry majors into med school is higher than it is for bio majors, right? To go pre-med, you really just need to take the prerequisites. You could be a bio major and do that. You could be a chemistry major and do that. It's really kind of what you're interested in. And then I do some advising as well. And I remember working with a recent graduate as he was nearing graduation. I was sitting down and working with him and I was like, okay, Joe, what are you thinking about after you graduate? What are you interested? Are you looking into going to grad school? What are some things that I could help you with? And he said, Dr. French, I just want to make money. And I was like, okay, Joe, fair enough. Fair enough. I understand that completely. So he's like, I just want to get a job, make money. And we have majors that do that as well. So we've had majors that jump into a current major that works for Estee Lauder and do formulation. Here in Syracuse, we have Bristol Myers Squibb and Anheuser-Busch that employ some of our majors as well as Xerox, Agilent, which they make chemistry instruments, Badukian, which they make like intermediates in chemical synthesis. And we had actually an alumni panel in the fall. I should have added on, Moderna. We had a former alumni from Moderna come and give a really good talk, a really interesting talk about her work there. A current alumni at Pfizer as well. Small mills they do like packaging of foods, sample mills, right? I could be misremembering that. But yeah, we have a lot of alumni that go right into industry. Kelsey's going to correct me in the chat here. Yeah, simple mills. Thank you. So yeah, that's certainly an option as well. And chemistry prepares you for that, right? Chemistry prepares you for a job in industry because you're learning, right? Hands-on instrumentation experience that you'll be using in industry. If you get a chance to do research as well, that's also going to prepare you for working in a lab in an industry setting. So we have multiple options available, going to grad school, going, pre-health, going to med school, dental school, law school, pharmacy school, and then some of our majors go right into industry. So Chem 450, which I mentioned at the start, that is the research component. So both Colin and Morgan, I think, are very lucky in that they got into research, or I should say they're very motivated in that they got into research in their first year on campus. It's possible as a first year student, you just kind of have to be a little bit organized and know, all right, I want to get into research, because you do have to fill out a form if you want to get into a research lab within the fall. And then certainly it's a little bit easier in the spring, because we want you to register for that form know how many credits you're taking, know what lab you're in, who you're working with, and make sure the professor knows as well. So that's Chem 450. If you're a biochemistry major, the research is BCM 460, just for that different major. But if you're a BS major in med chem or chemistry, you're going to need about 3 credit hours of this, of research. You don't have to start your first year in campus, but both Colin and Morgan are kind of proof that if you want, you can certainly start research your first semester on campus or your first year on campus. That being said, the form is due before the ad deadline, so very early September. So it would be good to kind of reach out early in the semester and get this sorted out if this is something you want to start right away. We also have the research experience for undergrads. That's the REU program that pays you about, right? It pays you $6,000 to work for 10 weeks in the summer to do research. You're put up in Ernie Davis. You also get a food allowance as well. Those applications are due mid-February. The other cool thing about this program is it's a National Science Foundation funded program. So there are about 70, 75 universities that participate. SU is one of them. You could certainly come here and do research for the summer, but you could also go someplace else. You could go to California, right? Texas, Wisconsin, right? You could find another university that you might be interested in or another area of the country that you might be interested and apply to do research there through the REU program. The other thing that's really great is that we have SOURCE, which is Syracuse University Office of Undergraduate Research and Creative Work. Basically, it's funding from Syracuse University to Syracuse undergrads. And they have sponsored some of our recent students. So Amber, for example, she's not here, but she's one of our biochemistry majors. Nori was a former chemistry major. These are great grants. They can pay for the school year, they can pay for the summer. And they also have some rolling grants that might cover, say you're doing some experiments and you need some extra funding to buy some of the chemicals or instrument time. The SOURCE grants are really a wonderful opportunity to kind of get that extra funding. They also pay for you to travel to conferences. So both Nori and Amber traveled to this conference, and it was funded by SOURCE funding for that. Here's Amber's proposal that she put in. And I'm on the panel that reviews some of these applications, and they're really not too bad. It's just kind of your outline for the research, what you want to do with the research, why you need this funding, how it could further your research. And if you're in a research lab and you show the initiative to a professor that I really want to go for this funding, go for this extra funding, right? No one is going to say no to that, right? No one's going to say no to some extra money in lab. And the other cool thing too is, maybe it also allows you to go to a conference that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to afford to go to. Colin or Morgan, did you want to add anything about the research experience or getting into a research lab? Or did anyone have any questions about research for Colin or Morgan or myself before we get on to the next slide? Colin disappeared and he's back. Just one more thing about the SOURCE funding. They have grants, they accept grants in the fall and the spring. So they have 2 cycles. So just be aware of that. But it's honestly, I think as an undergraduate, that's a great resource. And like I said, no professor would say no, if that was something you were interested in, because that could be $5,000 that covers some extra extra reagents or extra chemicals or instrument time, or, printing a poster, traveling to a conference, right? It certainly would help.
Do you know, this is kind of an interesting question for me, and I guess other people here too. How many Chem 450 labs are there?
Yeah, how many Chem 450 labs are there? So how many labs work with undergraduates might be a better question, is kind of what you're saying. Like, how many places could you use this? Yeah, let me find the website here.
I would say that there is not like a set number, because you could sometimes work in a bio lab, you can work at upstate. Sometimes professors are taking students and sometimes they're not. but John can bring up the list of at least the chemistry professors.
Yeah, just give me a second here and I'll get to the chemistry page.
I see a question in chat, and it's do you need certain qualifications to work at a research lab? And at least for the research lab I'm in, I did not. I was given a book on polymer chemistry to read and look at and refresh myself at. But yeah, maybe some research labs require some sort of qualification or background, or maybe like a class like you're required to like have taken organic. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Yeah, it really depends on the professor and it really depends on the research. So Carlos certainly works with undergrads. Professor Chaikin certainly works with undergrads. So Carlos is chemistry, biology, kind of in that biochem range. Ari here is computational, so PChem, a lot of calculations. Chisholm is strictly organic chemistry. So maybe for the organic labs like Chisholm and Toda, it probably would be helpful to have an organic background. So at least through your sophomore year or partway through sophomore year. Professor Doyle, that's actually the lab that Morgan works in. So Professor Doyle, he actually works with a lot of undergrads. He has many undergraduates in his lab. And he is kind of medicinal chemistry. So a little bit of biology, a little bit of chemistry, drug design and development. Professor Frank is again computational, so more on the physical chemistry side. He also has an undergraduate in his lab. Let's see, we've got Jimmy. Jimmy is biochemistry. He's known to have a few undergraduates in his lab. Tim, Dr. Corder, he's PChem as well, and he has some undergraduates. Luke has at least one undergraduate in his lab currently. Tim has one undergraduate as well. Olga has an army of undergraduates, as does Dave. Dave has, I couldn't tell you how many undergraduates Dave has, but he has probably a small army of undergraduates as well. And Dr. May, our current department chair, he also works with undergraduates. So a good number of our faculty do take undergraduates into our lab. Our current dean, she also will have an undergraduate in her lab from time to time as well. And then Spencer and Sponsler and Professor Steinhardt also do have undergrads in their lab. Dr. Toda is another organic professor. So again, that might be not until your sophomore year. But I know, so Professor Steinhardt, that's the lab that Colin's in. So Professor Steinhardt works with first year students. And Weiwei, Dr. Zhang, he also has some first year students in his lab. He's materials, so making like solar cells, LED displays, quantum dots, and nanocrystals, things like that, where kind of you don't need to have the organic chemistry background quite for that type of research. So I would say a fair number of our faculty do work with undergrads. And as Kelsey said, you don't have to be with a chemistry faculty. You can be with a biology faculty and take Chem 450. You can be at Upstate in another lab and take Chem 450 with that. And also to answer your questions, yeah, you don't, most labs, they're really, they're gonna train you and teach you the techniques they want you to know in their lab. It'll only be a few labs where they might want you to have some organic chemistry background, for example, before getting into that lab. But usually it's an in-lab type training where they're going to teach you the methods that they want you to know in that lab. Any other questions on the research aspect? And that research, right? That research gets published. It gets published all over the place. So from more of the biology side to chemical biology and cell, but scientific reports, more on the organic chemistry side, Journal of Organic Chemistry. So if you are pre-med or if you are thinking about going to grad school, right, there is nothing that would look better on your resume in helping you get to the next level than an undergraduate publication. They're very rare, but they do happen. It really helps to get into a lab early on in your career because it does take a lot of work often to bring a research project to publication. So certainly if you're in a lab, this would be a phenomenal opportunity for you, to get a publication out of that research experience to really show at the next level that you not only can join a lab and do research, but you can do research that's capable of being published. And our faculty are publishing papers all the time. For the social side of it, we've got a few organizations that I'll talk about a little bit here. So we've got Alpha Chi Sigma, which is a professional chemistry fraternity on campus. It's co-ed. It takes kind of all majors, really. You don't have to be a chemistry major, but it's an organization on campus that does a lot of outreach. They do some science related service events. You know, things have kind of been a little bit on a pause because of COVID and limitations, but they do a lot of fun events like dinner nights and movie nights. And they also offer tutoring on Sundays. And they also, like, for example, when the Science Olympiad comes around, like we'll judge for the Science Olympiad. We'll do some outreach events at the zoo as well. So it's a fun organization to join. Morgan's a part of that as well. We also have the Syracuse University ACS Group, which we offer research talks, like student research talks, alumni speakers, some professional development events and social events as well. So here was a picture of us, 2019, doing an outreach event at the zoo. I tried to find the video. I made magnetic slime. So in these buckets, we have like these big blobs of magnetic slime and then some rare earth magnets. And so it was a lot of fun working with 5, 6, 7-year-olds, even like 16, 17-year-olds that came in that day and were really interested in working with magnetic slime. So that was pretty cool, doing some outreach events on campus. And then the last organizations, a few of you mentioned maybe forensic science. So we do have, I always mess up the acronym here. So Undergraduate Forensic Science Student Association, right? The longest acronym that they come up with, UFSSA. Amber is their current president. Amber's been the president. She actually founded the organization. So if it's something you're interested in, reach out to Amber. And here's, her email address, but there's also their information on Instagram and Twitter. She's pretty active in trying to get career events, alumni events. So they have a range of speakers. And they also will watch like some of those docuseries that come up on Netflix as well and do fun things like that. So there are other opportunities outside of class, outside of research to get involved on campus. There are some nice student organizations that might be aligned with your interest and maybe your major as well. With that, don't think I have anything else. So if there are any questions on anything, if you have any questions for Morgan or Colin, want me to go back and anything, I can certainly do that. But this is kind of, for you and kind of answer any of the questions you might have as you're trying to decide on where you want to head next year and where you want to spend the next 4 years. So with that, let me know if you've got any questions. I'd be happy to answer them.